someone living in a rural community, I think this stuff, it could either make a really large gap for people, or it could level the playing field a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Jason Manship, host of Authentic and Agentic, presented by TechPoint. Every week on this show, we break down what's happening in AI and what it means for how we work, lead, and live. Join me for a human-focused conversation that keeps you ahead of the curve. This is the Authentic and Agentic podcast on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. Hey friends, Jason Manship here from the Authentic and Agentic podcast. I want to get started this week by jumping right into the news section. I've got three things on my mind, and the first one's a little personal. So yesterday, my board game store, Moonshot Games, I got absolutely blown up on Facebook. People were angry, and I wanted to spend a moment kind of unpacking that here with you because it's super AI relevant. So our creative director, who, by the way, has a degree from the Heron School of Art and Design, she used Google's Nano Banana to generate a cute little image promoting our Japanese gashapon machines. If you're not familiar with those, they're basically like these little vending machines almost, where you like put in a token. I think we sell them for like $6, and out comes a little capsule, and inside that capsule is a little plushie or some form of something cute or whatever. People love them. We've been doing them for a while, but she generated a kind of cartoonish image of someone buying from our gashapon machine. Super simple, right? This is just a social media post. We put up hundreds of social media posts. But within hours, we had dozens of angry comments, people yelling at us for, quote, using AI slop, people saying, I'm never going to shop at your store again. I can't believe you've come to this. And I mean, I literally even had people leaving 1-star reviews on Google, like going off of Facebook onto Google just to leave a 1-star review telling the world that we're scumbags because we posted an AI image on a Facebook page. And so I mean, guys, I'm really trying to unpack this. I'm going to do it here. And for whatever reason, a handful of people just decided this was the hill they were going to die on, and they wanted to attack us in our comment section and attack our small business over this issue. And as always, I try to address things directly. So first thing I want to tell folks is, like, we actually employ an artist, right? We're probably one of the only game stores in Indiana, maybe in the country, with a full-time creative director on staff. This is a full-time person who uses a whole range of tools: Adobe, photography, video editing, and yes, sometimes AI. Because honestly, that to me is what modern creative workflows look like, right? There was this argument that we should have hired an artist instead of using AI. Well, we did, and she used AI. Okay, so if you think we should hire an artist to create every piece of social media content, I don't think that's a reality. No small business owner is commissioning a custom illustration for a one-off Facebook post about a Japanese gashapon machine. I mean, it's just not a real thing, right? And here's the part that baffles me is that our competitors avoid this conversation entirely. They just don't post anything. So, I mean, I'm trying to unpack this because we're getting blasted for not supporting the arts, right? When, from my belief and perspective, we're probably the only company that's hiring artists and paying them a living wage to do this work, right? Instead of just not doing anything. And so I don't fully understand that argument. I mean, I get like you should pay artists and hire artists to do artwork. I really get it. I personally think we did, and I think that she used the tools of tomorrow today. And I think maybe that's a bigger conversation. So maybe let's unpack that a little further. So the ethical arguments I think that people are making, like we talked about, one, hiring artists, two, AI is trained on stolen art. And I think this is probably the one I feel like I can sense the strongest feelings about. People are saying basically in the comments that, tools like Nano Banana and ChatGPT are stealing art to create their models. And honestly, I personally think that framing is incomplete. Like, how do humans learn? Every artist in history has studied other artists. Every musician in history has listened to other musicians. Every writer in history of all time has read books. So learning from what came before us is literally how culture evolves. Now, I get that AI is doing that at scale. That is what a large learning model is it's consuming every book ever written, every song ever recorded, every piece of art that's ever existed, right? And it's doing that at scale. So I can understand why artists feel threatened by that. And there's a real emotional response here. And honestly, it deserves to be part of the conversation. I am not suggesting that that is not a reasonable response. But to me, the idea that using AI for a marketing graphic on a Facebook post that we wouldn't have hired someone to do, that just feels like a big leap to me, right? Like, that's not a thing. Like, we're just trying to communicate to our customers in a way that keeps them updated on what's going on in our shop. And the third argument, which people have tried to point out here, and look, this also requires some deeper diving, so I don't want to be coy and flippant in my response here, but it did make me laugh a little bit. So people are saying, like, your use of this nano banana tool is killing the planet because AI is killing the planet. Guys, we're having a conversation about killing the planet inside of a Facebook comment section. Think about that for a second. So the electricity used to power Facebook and the comment thread that these folks are spending their time in attacking folks certainly exceeded whatever nano banana used to generate the image, right? And I'm not trying to like shifty face this whole thing and like point it in the wrong direction. I get it. It is. These are conversations we have to have. This is why this podcast exists. Literally last week, I just talked to 120 Water people about, how are we going to handle these water issues in our country? How are we going to handle? I talked to the Congresswoman about how are we handling power in this country? These are hard things, and I am leaning in a very real and very tangible way to have these hard conversations. But I just think that it's disingenuous to suggest that our creating one nano banana image is ruining the planet when you're spending your time, effort, and energy, literal energy, in a comment section on social media content. Like, it just feels lost to me. I feel like we've lost the plot in this whole thing. But here's the truth. Running a small business means making thousands of micro decisions. I'm not going to please everybody. I get that. But I have always tried to build forward moving companies, and I'm going to try to continue to experiment with these AI tools. And I know that's going to piss some people off, and that's hard because we certainly want to support everybody that supports us. I don't want to alienate people, but my goal here is to communicate effectively using the tools of today. I'm not replacing people. Like I said, we hired a full-time art person. I'm not eliminating creativity. I'm trying to augment what we do so we can communicate better. And guys, this whole thing kind of reminded me of something that stuck with me this week. I was at the AI3 conference that Indiana Wesleyan put on in Noblesville, and I heard a guy named Sanjit Paul Chowdhury speak. And one of the things, right away, I love this guy because one of the things that I say a lot is that when people ask me, is AI going to take my job? I say, no, but someone using it probably will. And he said right in front of the room, he literally put that up on a slide and said, this is the wrong framing. You are wrong here. And he went on to elaborate. And I want to kind of point that back to this conversation about art. So jobs don't exist to perform tasks. Jobs exist because of restraints or constraints. So when those constraints change, the value of the skills change. So play this out. Think about typists, right? When word processors arrived, so there used to be rooms of people with typewriters that just sat and typed all day long. When word processors arrived, editing became cheap and fast, like literally overnight. And so the entire role of a typist or a typing pool disappeared overnight, not because typing stopped mattering, but because the constraints changed, right? I mean, think of the printing press and how you used to have to manually copy everything, and then boom, now there's a copy machine that just does it, right? This same thing is happening right now with AI. So when artists, designers, and creators think about the future, I would be asking myself, instead of like not asking myself, how do we stop it? I would say, how do I use these tools to express something that only humans can express? And I think that's the true question, right? Because if we're honest about it and we look deeper into the bits and pieces, like art has evolved with technology. Cave paintings, black ink on cave walls. Then we had canvas and oil. Then we had photography, digital illustration, Photoshop, stock images. Now we have background removal tools and automatic lighting tools. And I have to imagine that every generation says the same thing, like, this new tool isn't real art. And then 10 years later, it's just part of the toolkit. Now, I'm not advocating for type in a prompt and art goes away, right? I think there's something profound about pouring your heart and soul into something that you work on and sharing that with the world. And I don't want to lose sight of that. But I do want to say that this Facebook post ain't that, right? This is, again, something that we would never hire someone to go commission a piece of art for a Facebook post. This is just us putting something out into the ether to try to keep people updated on some stuff that we're doing. Now, I'm not trying to pretend to know exactly where AI art lands, but I do know this. I think we need to keep having these conversations. And guys, this is exactly why I created this podcast, to have these hard conversations. And this one struck a chord. There are some people really upset with me right now. And I just wanted to address it head on. The second thing I want to talk about this week is maybe encouraging instead of discouraging, and that's higher education. So I have, if you listen to this podcast, I've been pretty worried about how universities would respond or have been responding to AI. Academia moves pretty slow. And when a disruptive technology shows up, I have witnessed it. It feels like it just kind of creeps, right? They don't move fast. And honestly, a lot of times the response is to ban it instead of trying to learn how to adapt it. And I want to point out a couple things. I saw some really positive signals this week. So as I mentioned, I went to this conference put on by IWU, Indiana Wesleyan University. They called it the AI3 conference. And honestly, I was impressed, right? They're not hiding from the topic. They're leaning in. They had speakers, live podcasts, industry discussions, and panels. And they were asking questions like, how's AI going to reshape work? What should the students of today and tomorrow learn so that they're prepared for the workforce? What ethical frameworks do we need to build? These are the right conversations. Earlier this week, I also saw a talk from Purdue University President Meng Cheng, and he shared some of the changes going on in Purdue. They just got this approved. They are pushing AI literacy across the university, not just in computer science, but because AI is becoming a general skill, as he said, like using spreadsheets or writing emails, students across disciplines, from engineering to business to liberal arts, are going to need to know how to use these tools. And so Purdue is requiring coursework, projects, and practical AI use across their classes. I think this is exactly what higher education needs to be doing. They shouldn't pretend that AI doesn't exist. They shouldn't just stick their head in the sand. They need to prepare students for the world that does exist. And I'm encouraged. In the last week, I saw 2 different universities coming at this head on. My third story for this week is from a story from Axios. And it's something I think a lot of people might not be paying attention to right now. So if you're in the weeds on some of this stuff, AI feels pretty cheap. I mean, a lot of the tools that I use are $20 a month, right? Sometimes they're free. But the point Axios made, and I think the point we need to understand, is that that's probably not going to last. So according to Axios, many of the major AI labs, so the OpenAIs, the Googles, the Anthropics, they're actually losing money on AI queries right now. But here's what's happening. They're pricing aggressively because they're competing for you. They want you, right? They need users. It's the same strategy we've seen before in Silicon Valley. Uber, Amazon, Netflix, scale first, optimize later. And so they're trying to get you as a customer, and then later they will optimize. And I think that goal is plain as day. These folks are trying to become your operating system, the operating system of your future. And I think whoever owns the interface for how humans interact with AI is going to win. And so once you become dependent on one of their tools and you're locked in and you've got all your history and all your data and all your info, anticipate the prices to go up. That's how it's going to work, right? And Axios made this point that really stuck with me. They flat out said, AI might never be cheaper than it is right now, because once companies need to start showing profits, the era of what they're calling subsidized AI could end. That's a classic tech platform strategy. Hook users first, monetize later. So the thread connecting all 3 of these stories, a few things. 1, AI is here. 2, it's messy. 3, it's emotional. People are upset about a lot of this stuff, and it's hard. We're all dealing with this. And 4, it's disruptive, right? I mean, it is changing literally everything. And so that is the reason I started this podcast. I want to have these hard conversations. We all need to be thinking about this stuff. People are going to argue about it, sometimes really loudly in Facebook comment sections. But the question I continue to ask myself since my interview with the folks at Notre Dame, my friend Adam Cronk from the Institute for Ethics and the Common Good asks this question: to what end? Why are we doing any of this? For Moonshot, my board game company, the answer is simple. We're trying to communicate with our community. We're trying to build a business, and we're trying to explore the tools shaping our future. We're trying to have honest conversations about it along the way. And here on the podcast, that's what it's all about, having honest conversations along the way. I'm going to skip to a sponsor break here from our friends at TechPoint. They are the folks that are making this podcast happen. And when I come back, we're going to sit down with Josh Cecil and Camity Lewis. These are 2 friends of mine who I introduced to agentic AI and vibe coding. And we're going to physically talk about, show and tell about the work that they have been building on their own using AI. AI isn't just changing jobs, it's changing who gets hired. TechPoint's new brief, AI Amplifies the Need to Address the Experience Gap, shows how AI is changing entry-level jobs and how employers can take advantage of this moment. Download the brief and find out ways to get involved at techpoint.org/AI gap. Hey friends, I got a fun one for you today. I'm sitting down with a couple of my good friends, Josh Cecil from Hamco Live. We're going to get into his background, which is hysterical. And Camity Lewis. Camity and I met maybe a couple years ago. She also has just a wild background, and I think you're going to love both of these people. And importantly, I think you're also going to love what they're doing. These are builders. These are people that are embracing. They're not technical. These are not software developers or coders. These are not entrepreneurs or like tip of the spear business folk. These are people who want to make a difference in their community and are embracing technology to do that. They're embracing AI to do that. They've started building and using tools that I've showed them. And through that, they're having a dramatic impact on the people around them. And so really excited to sit down and talk to them. Let's get right to the interview. Josh Cecil, Camity Lewis, welcome to the Authentic and Agentic podcast. Glad to have both of you today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited.
It's going to be fun. So I'm calling this episode the Let's Build the Airplane in the Air episode. And the premise here is that AI is moving 1,000,000 miles an hour. And it's really about what you put into it, what you get out of it, right? And what I've loved watching both of you is that you have taken some high-level direction. I kind of just pushed you and said, go build something. And you've both done that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to spend some time today. I don't even know what you built. We're going to look at it together, see what you came up with, see what we have here. And we're going to talk to our audience about the tools you've used, the things you've found helpful, maybe the painful lessons you learned along the way.
Sure.
So let's just plan to do that. So first what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with you, Camity, ladies first.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you, where did you start this conversation? When I first met you and we started talking about AI, you didn't know much, right? You were just kind of green and ready to run into the fire.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT, right? And I feel like that's a starter for a lot of people. And you notice that AI is kind of creeping into Google when you're searching things and this whatnot. But really, ChatGPT is what I started to dive into. And I was using it probably how a lot of people use it, more for personal stuff. I hate grocery shopping, so I had it meal prep for me, and my kids are really picky eaters, so that was really helpful, right? And, making my click list to go pick up at the grocery store and stuff like that, and it was very, very helpful. But we own a small business in Brown County, Indiana, so I started using it for small things to do and help digitally with that, whether it was, social posts or whatnot, but you showed me how to make a chat bot right within ChatGPT. Yeah. And that kind of opened it up. And then we've just kind of gone from there. I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
But that was
let me caveat before I get to Josh. Yeah. One thing that listeners, you guys are going to love is that both of these people are involved in lots of things. She mentioned her small business in Brown County. She has a family business, Jack and Jill Nut Shop, right in the heart of Brown County. It's like the cutest little place. She also works for a fiber optics company, last mile fiber company that gets fiber to your home, basically all over the state of Indiana, mainstream communications. And then she also is an adjunct professor at IU. And so, and does youth sports and all sorts of other things. And so you're going to hear more about her background, but you're just picking up on that she's doesn't just have a day job, right? She's connected in lots of ways. So Josh Cecil, I'm going to pivot to you now. Why don't you tell our listeners about your ADHD world and life and everything that you've been a part of? Because this is hysterical for those of you that don't know Josh.
Oh boy. Okay. I'll try and give the brief version.
I'll add details if I feel like it's necessary.
So initially, I graduated from University of Southern Indiana with a degree in advertising and public relations. Moved up to Indy, took a job selling oxygen and home medical equipment, basically. Hated my life. I had a band at the time, so I said I'm going to quit this sales job and just try and do music. I didn't really even know what that meant, but I did that. And to actually make money, because I wasn't making any money at music. I worked at Starbucks. And then like a youth pastor saw me perform at Starbucks, actually, and said, hey, would you mind kind of working with my student band at the church and just kind of help them learn how to play as a band? It's like, sure, I'll come by, help. So I did that. That led into me doing that full time for about 7 years. Then I moved to Las Vegas and worked at a church out there doing production, video, stage, music, like everything. Decided I wanted to move back to Indiana. Didn't know what I was going to do. My buddy was opening up a restaurant, so I became his bar manager.
This is Clancy's.
This is Divvy.
Oh, this is Divvy over in Carmel. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Kevin Ryder was opening it up. And decided, we had 3 kids when I started working at the restaurant, had our 4th while working at the restaurant. And I thought, I don't want to be home, or I don't want to be gone for dinner. So we're going to do something different. Pivoted to, it gets a little murky. I was also editing some video at the time on the side through Rocky Walls, our mutual friend Rocky.
12 Stars.
At 12 Stars Media.
And Debbie's daughter.
When they had just started. But I decided I'm going to go back to school to get my teaching license. So I did transition to teaching through Indiana Wesleyan, taught at the high school for about 8 years. During that time, I was either bartending on the side or...
Keep going. This is great.
Playing music, doing magic.
Wait, slow down. Doing magic.
Yeah, go back.
Talk about that one.
Don't skim over that. Bury the lead.
Well, you mentioned Brown County, so there's a magic shop.
Oh, there was actually 2 for a while.
Okay.
Now I think there's only 1, but yeah.
But I used to stop there. So I'm from Washington, Indiana, and I would stop in Brown County on my way back up and take my kids to the magic shop, and that kind of piqued my interest.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I
used to go all the time. Yeah, it's super fun.
It's neat. So I got some stuff there. And
so sleight of hand, and you were actually like not only doing birthday parties and stuff, but you'd be like front of a stage in a room of people doing shows.
I did a couple of stage shows, a couple of corporate shows. I would, like, bars would hire me, and I'd go around and do tableside magic, or because I was a bartender, I could hop behind the bar and do magic at the bar as well. So there was that. Teaching, and then I also did a small video production on the side because I was teaching that. I figured, well, I might as well see if I can do something with it. And that's how we met.
Yeah, it was the worst sales pitch I've ever seen in my entire life. He walks into Moonshot and he's like, hey, I'm trying to do video services. I'm a teacher. They don't pay me enough, so I need a side hustle. And I'm like, you know what? We do need video services, and I really like you, but this is literally the worst sales pitch I've ever seen. And so I said, I'm going to...
And a friendship was blossomed.
It sure was. It sure was. So I
that was COVID? That was during COVID, right?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. And we've been besties ever since, basically, because he didn't get pissed at me when I said that to him. He's like, you know what? Help me.
I was aware.
It's like, help me make it better. And so, so teaching, you taught in what exactly subjects?
English, film literature, and mass media, which was video production. So the film school, or the film class, and the mass media. I basically turned into filmmaking for students.
So to recap, for those of you that tuned out for the last 14 minutes, Josh has done like leading a worship band in other states, helped plant something in Vegas, has a family of four kids, is a magician, a musician, a bartender, a videographer, and a school teacher.
Correct. And a failed salesman.
Yes, correct. I can confirm
failed?
that.
I mean, you're here, right?
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Well, I mentioned I was an oxygen salesman at one point.
Failed at that too.
Not very good.
That's probably where you got all your tips and tricks.
I don't want you to fail at that. That's awesome.
Yeah, if you can't sell oxygen, you're not doing something right. You kind of need. It's pretty necessary.
That's pretty funny.
I lived in Vegas.
You did.
It was my first job
let's
out of college.
pivot to that because that's something we didn't talk about.
I was going to say, I didn't know that you were in Vegas.
So let's tie timelines here and see if we're connected.
Yeah. So I went to Indiana University, studied sports communication. Now I'm teaching the sports media, and in the media school, it's so different now, so big. But I was an anchor reporter. I started in Vegas. Yeah.
Young
Which was
girl
crazy.
from Bloomington, Indiana, in Vegas doing the sports.
My parents were terrified. It was like, it's been so nice living here. Bye, I'm going to Vegas. So moved to San Diego after that. Still in news. Iowa, small town in Iowa. My first full-time on-air gig. So I wasn't full-time on air at the other places. Full-time on air, then moved to Louisiana, where I met my husband, and he's from Texas. Moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, switched from sports to news, did morning news there, 4-hour live show. And then my last news gig was Cleveland, Ohio. And then my dad said he wanted to retire from the nut shop. And so he was like, I'm going to sell it. I was like, I don't know who you think you're going to sell it to because it's not going to anyone but us. So we bought the nut shop. I say bought loosely because we did buy it, but friends and family discount.
Sure.
And moved back with our now 2 kids, only one at the time, and have the nut shop. And then I thought, I'm going to stay at home a little bit. I'm going to take a little break.
Sure.
Lasted for 2 months. I was like, this is not for me. So started working in marketing and came across the, adjunct jobs at IU, which has been great because I'm not in TV, but I can still be in TV kind of. And who I work for, Mainstream Fiber, is owned or was started by a good friend of mine. So that's really nice. Brian Gabriel, wonderful human being.
Yeah.
So glad to connect with him and his family and get in there too. So it's been nice, but it's also been, all over the place.
Yeah, and both of you, I love that. Then that's what I wanted to get across the front end of this for our listeners. So these aren't your typical go to work 8 to 5 for the last 25 years of the same job type of people, which frankly, where we are in the world of AI today, I think is a benefit because you guys are thinking about the world a little differently, right? It's a little bit of life hacking. It's a little bit about figuring out where we are, what's next. Neither of you are afraid to take chances and take risks and try something new. Partially maybe because you just get bored and you have to try something new. Partially because you see an opportunity and go after it. But I think that's a really important component here. And so
I just had this conversation earlier this week with a guy our friend John Wexler put me in touch with. He's moving back to Indiana from North Dakota, was at a church out there and is looking to transition into, what did I call it? Not secular, whatever. But I was like, yeah, you're kind of at an interesting point here with what's happening in AI. And I said to him, I think those days of staying with one company and for the next 20 years, you're doing 40 hours a week. I don't know that those days are here anymore. And I don't think they're coming back. Yeah. It's piecing it together.
Well, when you think about that, so our parents, we're all roughly same age group. You go get a job, you go to high school and or college, you get a job, you pretty much work that job, set aside for retirement, and that'd be your career, right? We live in the free agent society. And so we're like free agents on a sports team where we're looking for the next opportunity that's out there. And that's just our generation. The next generation's the influencer society, which wants to all have a YouTube show and a podcast and all that. And so we're probably trying to live a little bit of our past lives by being on this podcast today, but whatever, it's fun, right?
It is nice.
So,
it is nice.
See, it feels good.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about your AI journey and then really specifically what you've picked up along the way and what you're doing now. So for the listeners, one of the things I always like to do is occasionally put a piece together in the show where we show you something or talk practical and tangible and tactical on things, where it's not just these big high level conversations about the what ifs, but it's like, what'd you do? Right? So I know both of you have built some things. I know a little bit about what you have built. Cameron, why don't you talk to me first about maybe where your head's at, what you've learned since you just gave us that overview, and where you're headed now.
It's funny because even before AI, when I first met Jason, I would be like, I have this idea. I want to do this. And he's like, focus on something, right? And move. And that's been really helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where we bond over too, right? Is that we're ready to go. Like, let's try something. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like try a million things and kind of see what sticks. And that's kind of what I mean. So it's like, keep going, figure out when you're onto something. And I feel like, I won't give too much away, I feel like I'm onto something. Great. And it's because of all the AI tools that, you have shown me and then playing around with them, right? So one thing that I love is being involved with so many different things. You touch on so many different things. I live in Brown County. It's a rural community. There's so many needs in every community, right? But I see firsthand needs there and how this could really help a community like that. Sure. And that's one thing that I have tried to kind of build too. I'm a small business owner. We understand that it is hard. I mean, my dad and my husband are the only ones in there 7 days a week. So how can we help with that kind of thing? So those are kind of my mindset on what I've tried to build. But really the thing I feel like I'm really onto here is talking to my journalism students. I'm like, how do you even apply for jobs? Like where do you look? What do you do? Because when I was coming out of school, going into TV, there was a website. It still exists.
For TV jobs.
For TV jobs. Literally called tvjobs.com.
Man, honestly, these people are branding geniuses.
And this is 20 years ago, right? But 15 years ago. But it was very helpful. Every TV broadcast job in a traditional newsroom was on this website. And it's a subscription based, and that's where, you'd sit and you'd readjust your resume, you'd readjust your cover letter, and you'd apply. I think I applied for 300 jobs. That's no exaggeration, before getting my first full-time on-air gig, which paid me $19,000 a year, full salary, even though you work 60 hours a week.
This was in Vegas?
No, this was full-time on air. So I was in Iowa for this one.
Yeah, standard of living is a little different in Iowa.
And Vegas was different too, because it's more freelancing, right? So it's like you're calling games and things. So it's not full-time.
Sure.
So it's not salary, I should say. So I was asking them, where do you even look? And they were like, well, we hope that, we get recruiters that come in. And obviously it's a big, great university with this amazing media school. So they have a lot of resources. But I was like, there's nothing that's in one place, right? And it got me thinking, and I was like, well, I'll just build it for you. And literally like 3 hours later, I had something. So I don't want to spoil it if you want to get into it later. But that's kind of where my head is with all this. It's kind of solving a problem, right? It's taking something, and just like any business person would like to do, any entrepreneur, where is the problem? How do you fix it? And this has really helped with a lot of things.
How do I use these tools to do that?
To streamline all this stuff, right? So just another example really quickly. My dad has been at the nut shop. We are third generation, so it's been in our family since the 60s. Nothing has changed at the nut shop.
That's a lot of small businesses
and
like that.
For better or worse, right? Sure. Like it's awesome that it hasn't changed, because it's very nostalgic, and like the quality is the same and that kind of thing. But like he didn't have a website, like there was no social media, nothing like that. So when we took it over, built a website, now I'm rebuilding it with the AI tools that you've shown me. It's been way easier than me, who's not a coder, building it from scratch. But we integrated Printify, so now we have merch, right? And
like on-demand merch.
Yes.
Yeah,
so my dad was blown away by the fact that when we set all this up, I called him, and one time we just had one purchase on the website that was all merch, nothing, all t-shirts, right? Basically t-shirts. No nuts, which crazy. Can't believe you didn't order.
That's nuts.
We have that on a t-shirt if you want one.
So many nuts jokes.
So many. They write themselves right. But I called him and I was like, guess what, Dad? We got an order and it's all t-shirts. He's like, so what do I do? And I was like, it's the best thing. Nothing. It's already done.
You look in the bank account and make sure it gets deposited
It's
correctly.
done. And he was like, that's awesome, right? So it's streamlining, but there's also the AI tools in between that is making it where it is streamlined, where we don't have to touch it. And that's a big part of it too, right? So it's not the actual website in this case, not the actual merch selling, but it's the between stuff that has now streamlined that process to where someone can order it.
So good.
And I can double check it, right? Make sure as a human that it's where we want it, but we don't have to do anything outside of that. And that's a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Love that story. Josh, I'm going to pivot to you. She talked about website building. You just shared an offline story with me about building a website using an AI tool. Do you want to walk us through that? I know you have the...
Yeah. So kind of similar. I saw a problem. The problem was I was walking in downtown Noblesville and I thought I'd like to go see some live music. I didn't know who was playing where, and bands and bars are both notorious for not
being overwhelmed,
not posting stuff and, making it easy to find or whatever. And I thought, boy, it'd be really nice if I just knew where all the music was happening. I'd go to one place and there wasn't one. So I created the website, but initially I did it through Wix, and it was, what do you call it?
WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get.
Never heard
It's called a WYSIWYG editor.
I love that.
So it was a lot of dragging and dropping and just messing around. And I got to something that I thought looked good, but
connecting the data to that's a whole different problem. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you were there at the beginning of that, and
grab your brooms because it's a mess.
So what we used to have to do is look on the web and enter everything in by hand. And I mean, it would take, between me and Chris, who helps out with the website, probably 3 hours a piece to do that initially. And it just got real clunky. And then we had a friend do some coding for us, and it got easier. But then we were in a situation where, like, anytime we needed something, we had to
call the
bug
friend.
him.
Phone
and
a friend.
He's like, guys, you got to figure this out.
Yeah. He's like, wait a minute, how much are you paying me again? Nothing? Oh,
Free
okay.
99.
So initially, I mean, probably 2 years ago when you started turning me on to AI tools and stuff, I went to chat and I just said, I forget how I phrased it or whatever, but it sent out a bunch of code that I was supposed to somehow plug into
HTML
Wix,
and JavaScript, and
I don't know what I'm doing. I can't
unsubscribe.
do this.
Yeah.
So I kind of
Even you saying it, I'm like, blank my mind and go back to
So I kind of shelved it, and then he turned me on to Lovable. I just started messing around one day. I mean, literally in the weekend, I redid our entire website.
Well, let's look through that. You got it up on the screen. While you're doing that, let me give a quick precursor to this. So for folks listening, there are dozens and dozens of really great tools out there that do AI things. And when I talk about AI things in the term of building, I think about, in essence, having an agent or an open-ended interface where you can, in essence, talk to it, and it will go do the thing you tell it to do, right? It's very much like having a web designer sitting right next to you and just saying, this is what I want my website to look like, and this is how I want it to work, and please go build it. And then this tool says, yes, boss, let me get on it, and it just goes, right? And so Josh is going to show you. Josh, I just want you to walk us through what you've built, and then I want you to keep in mind a lot of our listeners are audio, right? Okay. So we can't be too visual here because they're not all going to see this. So kind of explain what you're doing as you're going.
Sure. Yeah. So the site is called Hamco Live, and basically it's comprised of, the main aspect is the online music calendar. So when you go to the homepage, it brings up basically it's like images and text of who's playing where. So, I can look at the online calendar for Thursday, March 12th and see that Linwood Trio is playing at Beer Brewery in Noblesville, or the Dave Matthews Tribute Band is playing at Feinstein's at Hotel Carmichael in Carmel. So it's
an interactive, filterable list of shows and venues in Hamilton County.
And, you click on it, you can find band website. If it's a ticketed event, you'll have a link to buy tickets or whatever. And that's basically the main tool, is this online calendar.
I love that you can add to your calendar. I just saw when you clicked on when it can add to your calendar, because as someone who can only remember things when it's in your calendar, love that that's an option.
Can I tell you that I didn't know that was an option? The robots put that on there for me.
That's right. They know. Sometimes they know better than you know. So for context, Josh, in this moment, you said, I want to build a a searchable online website for music shows at bars and venues in my home area of Hamilton County, Indiana.
Yep.
I need a list of bands, I need a list of venues, and I need the ability to create a visual interface for customers to come on and find anything they want.
Yep.
And it takes that and builds this for you, and then you tweak from there. But
tweak from there.
What we just found out is that it even adds some cool features that it thinks makes a lot of sense for that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got...
That's wild.
Yeah. And what I like about it is I can go here in the kind of the back end of this. My favorite aspect, I told you that it took us 3 hours a piece to build the online calendar, enter all that data. Well, now what I do is I've created a link for all the local venues. I copy the link, send them a link, and it pulls up what is essentially a form, and they just plug in the band names.
Okay.
And we can get this thing,
that's great.
Assuming they do it when we send it, it gets done in minutes.
That's great.
And I'm going to take us hours.
This is the security guy in me. We're scaring this screen. You better blur that out, or some ding dong that's listening to this show is going to go start submitting venue ideas at various places.
Yeah, I'll blur that out.
That's funny. But what I love about this is that when you're talking to these AI agents, these bots that are building this for you, these are purpose-built agents who are web design, web development, database. Like that's how they're wired and coded. It's like having a designer, a developer, and a coder, a database engineer all in the room with you. And it runs, right? So you are now the project manager or the editor. Right. You're the person who's telling it what to do. You don't know how to code, right? When ChatGPT originally was giving you code to paste into something, you're like, forget it. Helpful. But this changes everything.
And too, like, let's say I was sitting in the room with the designer and the whoever. I wouldn't know who to ask what.
Sure.
Where here I can just ask,
and it
here's
splits
what I
up
need.
the tasks accordingly.
Yeah.
And what I have witnessed in the evolution of these tools is that it will make assumptions. It will also ask you questions. One of the pro tips I always tell folks when using these tools is, if this isn't clear, don't make assumptions, ask me questions. And then you make sure you get exactly what you want out of the backside. But what's cool about it is you give it that instruction set. The first instruction set, when you first started this, you give it some, page long, paragraph long, whatever it was. How long does it take to get to MVP version 1 of a website?
A couple hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that, yeah.
Yeah. I was still doing the...
No, but it'll get back to you within 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Of here's the first draft, boss. What do you think?
Yeah.
And then it's just back and forth. And again, unlike Wix or some of these other tools, you have to learn how to WYSIWYG, drag and drop things. You just tell it, like, this color sucks. I don't like this font. Move this over here.
And like with the WYSIWYG stuff, you drop something in and maybe it's not aligned exactly how you want it. And then it's like, oh gosh, how do I figure out, I move this thing and this thing moves over here. And it's like, it's kind of a mess within the WYSIWYG build. But here I can just tell the guys.
As a guy who taught myself how to code front page back in the early 90s, that the tech behind that stuff has shifted a lot over time, but it's messy. It's not designed for that. When we first started building websites, you had a desktop computer, and now we have devices of all sizes, and the text and everything has to render accordingly based on what you're getting it on. It's a different world.
Yeah.
And the fact that this thing can parse all that and do it all in real time is just wild.
Nuts. Yeah.
Right? Just wild.
I think one thing that really helped that you told me one time, Jason, was I would go to ChatGPT also and be like, I want to do this in Lovable or whatever tool I'm using. And it would give me code. And I'm like, cool, I don't have any idea if that's what I want or not, because I don't know how to read that. But you told me to ask for a prompt instead of a code, and it changed a lot, right? So now I can see what prompt it's giving, and I can change it if I'm like, well, I do like that, but I actually want it to say this instead, or whatever, as minor or major it could be. So instead of it coding for me, which it's obviously that's what it's doing, but it's in layman's terms, it's in my language. So it made such a difference instead of asking for code, asking for a prompt. Like, how could I prompt this to get where I want to be here?
Yeah.
It helped a lot.
That's how I started with this too, is chat. And I think I used the link to the Hamco site that I had. And, I said, this is what I want. Give me a prompt for Lovable, which is now connected in chat, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, But yeah, it gave me the prompt, and that was like,
Use the AI to use the AI.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
meta, very deep.
yeah.
Can I ask you, so you had a site, you had Hamco Live, that was the Wix, and then you transferred it to
Yes.
the Lovable,
Well,
your
you
domain.
blew it up. You started over with that as a guidepost. It said, this is
Right.
what I had before. I want you to redo it better.
Yeah,
Over
and
here.
then I just connected the Lovable site to the domain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you're going to buy a domain outside of the tool.
Yeah.
You can get it in the tool, but you can just point it wherever you want, basically.
yeah. I think I bought my domain through Wix, and I still use the email service of Wix, but this is built outside of Wix.
Easy peasy.
It's great. Yeah, and the even that used to be you got to call your IT guy and he had to do a thing. Now it's like click a box, log into Wix right there in a modal on your screen, and it just does all the work for you.
Yeah.
So they're boiling this down to be pretty simple.
And I think this is kind of cool. This is what I'm playing with now, and you might find this interesting. So in the back end, I've got this admin page for social. I can go in here. I can pick a date. We'll just pick Saturday, and it'll generate social media posts for me.
Based on your calendar.
Yeah,
It's great.
And it should be pulling in those images. That's the kind of part I'm working on right
Sure.
now. But then I just download it.
Well, what I love about
Put a
that
post.
is I always told folks when I was doing web development in the 90s and early 2000s that your website is a living, breathable thing, right? It should be constantly changing. It's not a set it and forget it. With this tool, you can add a new feature. You can add a whole new hook, right?
Yep.
And I think that's really, really cool because now you get to focus on building a better customer experience instead of spending all your time just tweaking the crap.
Right.
You can focus on the human side, right?
right.
Like, because you got the robot doing all the tedious, and that's what a lot of people think, oh, AI is gonna, it means there's no human touch, which I mean, like, I think it leaves more room for it if you use it in a right way.
Well, I think what sounds like maybe what you're doing and we're both doing is building community. But we're using these AI tools to
Do that.
help build that, like drive
right.
traffic to these places where we can all enjoy live music together.
Well, I know that Hamco Live has touched thousands of people here in Hamilton County. Like, people love the fact that my wife and I love the fact that we can find out what's going on in the world just by going to your website, your app. And this didn't exist. And frankly, I mean, if it required all of the hands-on stuff that it used to require to do this, it's probably not a super feasible thing.
Well, I was about ready to hang it up
I bet.
until I did this. And I was
So
like,
the headline of this
re-energized
episode
me.
is AI saves Hamco Live. But now you're re-energized and there's all kinds of fun stuff coming. We'll get to that in a second. Cammy, I'm going to pivot over to you. So I know you've used some Lovable stuff. You talked a little bit about your integrations with Printify and some of the stuff for the Nut Shop. I know a tool that you and I have spent some time game planning on is Replit. Talk to me about what you're doing there or anything that you've learned in using that tool.
So this is what I mean with Jason probably sometimes is like, I've told you 1,000 times, but I was like, what is the difference between Lovable and Replit? Like, what am I building that is different? And being in one of the cohorts with you, you said something that like it made sense finally, right? So it's almost like anything that I would need, not necessarily a login, but I use it as a scraper tool, right? I'm doing things to scrape the internet for things that I'm asking it to. And then Lovable is more of like the pretty marketing side of it, right? So going back to the journalists, the future journalists that I have in class, they're looking for jobs, they're looking for internships. Internships are huge, right? I mean, they all need them, but there's not really like a centralized place for them to look. So now you have media companies, and I am talking about like traditional newsrooms, right? So you have media companies who own all news stations all over the country. So if you're like, oh, right here in Indianapolis, say I want to work at WTHR, well, I'm going to go to WTHR's website, and then it's going to take you to the company website. It's going to take you, then you got to find the career page. Sometimes they don't even have the internships listed there. Then you got to go find, well, what's an entry level? What's one that I can use, right? And I just thought there's so many more steps. Then you have to actually apply for the job, right? And you have to change your resume to fit it. You have to have your cover letter ready, all of the things. So I was playing around with Lovable for a couple different things. But then when we had this cohort up here with Replit, when I was going home, when I was driving home, it like clicked, and I'm then talking to my ChatGPT. I'm like back and forth with it the whole time, and having like a conversation in the car so I don't forget anything. And I thought I'm gonna try to build a site that scrapes the internet for whatever companies I tell it to, and then it'll put all of the active jobs, internships, station groups, and we'll cater it to entry level and internships.
For students.
Yeah, for students.
For sure.
So anyone could use it because all of the jobs will be on there. But while I'm building this, it helped me to kind of focus on the people that I know, right? So I can be like, does this help you? Is this something that you would find useful? So I built the Lovable site, and it's called the Cue Collective.co is the site.
You built this in Lovable.
This is what I can't tell people enough about AI and everything, because I built this when my kids went to sleep and I was up until like 2, 3 in the morning one night, which is not normal. Like I'm like a 9 p.m., 10 p.m. kind of girl. So if you went to this website, if you scroll back up, you'll see that you can go to, don't do this yet, but browse opportunities, explore resources. So we have all these things that are built there. I don't necessarily have them built out yet.
Sure.
But if you don't mind, going to the resources, you can go to that drop down and
he'll find it. This is part of the journey of the episode, is to watch Josh figure it out.
I put a couple blogs up there. I put a couple things, but tailored resume tool right there. This is something that Jason suggested, and I couldn't believe how easy this was to build, to be honest. So if you log in, which obviously you don't need to log in right now, you can put your resume in, and then it will remember that your resume is uploaded to the site. And once you go to browse opportunities and you go to the job board, you can click a job, drop down. It will drop down, give you details. The job will say, this is what the job's all about. It's an entry level. You should apply for this. You can hit apply for this job. It'll take you to the actual job posting instead of having to cipher through all the things. Or it will go through to tailor your resume to this job. And that's the most exciting part for me, because
really cool.
I can remember applying for these jobs and being like, oh my gosh, I have to go back and make sure that I'm like, everything is spelled correctly.
That
everything
I didn't
is
say the wrong station name to the wrong station.
Exactly. And I did. I did. So
Josh couldn't even type Q correctly. So
I'm sorry that you have to type it for me too. So I know that makes it hard. That makes it hard. No, but one thing that also, if we're being completely honest, these bigger companies are also using HR managers, and they're getting thousands of resumes all the time, right? So you think that they're reading through all of them, or do you think that they're getting keywords that maybe stick out and this is what we want? So what the resume tool does is it doesn't build your resume for you. You have to have a resume. Then it goes in and it basically takes a bullet from whatever part of your resume, and it's like rewording it, right? So to make it more appealing to who you're applying for, to that job. So, but where this started, if you go to browse opportunities on here, it should take you to a job board. If you open the job board, what I used Replit for was to build this part of it.
So you'll notice if you're looking the top URL bar, now it's the cuecollectivejobs.replit.app, and that can be jobs.thecuecollective.co or whatever, right?
Yeah, and I haven't even touched that. It just generated that, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just
but
one thing at a time.
the branding and the colors match, and that was easy to.
And I need to also say that first night when I mean, this took a few hours, right? Only a few hours. I bought a domain name. I connected it to the Lovable site. I made this Replit. I was like, I don't know how to put Replit into Lovable. How do I do that? Did that real quick. And then it came up with this. So I have scraped every morning. You can see there's 32 station groups. I set up a scrape. So Replit goes in every morning at 6 a.m. and scrapes all of those station groups for new job opportunities and internships, and then uploads them to this app. So I asked it to keep jobs that had been filled or internships that had been filled and just mark them out for 7 days, because I know for me when I was looking for jobs, I was like, well, is it gone, or did they just fill? Like, what happened? Like, is it just, you can assume it's gone, but is it just not here? Should I go looking for it? So that's one thing that I built in there. But this updates and it gives people an idea of who's hiring for what position. And if you're logged in, you kind of have more options, right? So if you're logged in, you can break it down between filter through states or DMAs, markets, right? So you can see right there, Eugene, Oregon. You want to live in the Pacific Northwest? Where do you want to live, right? So there are filters once you sign in that you can filter through. You can save jobs, you can send jobs, you can set up job alerts. And I recently, because the scrape breaks sometimes, right? It's not perfect yet. Sure. So I have been setting up security measures for myself. So every morning I get now it's multiple emails right now to make sure that the scrape happened so that everything is updated. But now my students, or really anyone, because it's just out there on the internet because it's live, but anyone who wants a TV job can go here and filter through and see at least who's hiring and what position is open, where, all of the things. So instead of having to just go to each individual station group, and those are only 32, there are more than that. There are major ones, right? But there are more than that. Now you can see it all in one place. So another thing that I built in this, and I don't know what like an API, like I don't know what any of these things mean, right? So then I like schedule a call with Jason. I'm like, hey, I am like onto something. Like, I hope you're sitting down. Like, right? I'm like, I don't know, but like, I hope you're sitting down. So, told him, showed him this. He's the one who was like, well, why don't you create some tool to help with resume, because I had a resume template, but it's like,
that's adorable. I think that was my term.
Well, and it's like, cool. It is. It's like, okay, but then what? Right.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you've been very helpful with me is just, there's so many things you can do. It's like, why you might as well just go a little further and keep going and keep going and keep going. And this is something that I'm so proud of this. I've sent it to a lot of my friends who are still in the industry and just asking for feedback.
If you're a student in Camity's class at IU, there are 1,300 jobs and 163 internships. I couldn't name a professor in my tenure of college that helped that much, right?
Thank you.
And this is something you did in a few hours.
A few hours. And
it's wild.
It's hard because, and IU I think is doing a good job of talking about AI and making sure that it's being used correctly and that people aren't using it to cheat and, all those things. And this is kind of one of those things that I'm like, this is a tool. This is not going to apply for the job for you. It's not going to do the interview for you. It's not going to show your skill set on camera or behind the camera, because now you obviously have to do all of that. But it is just making it a little easier. So now you can apply for 10 jobs in an hour rather than 10 jobs in 10 hours.
Yeah.
And that is really the hope for me with it, is just making it just a little bit easier and just continue to fine tune it. So later, I hope to build some videos, maybe like, especially like video production side, where I think journalism needs the most help. Because if you don't know out there, if you're watching a journalist on TV, they're most likely shooting, writing, and editing all of their stories and then turning the camera on themselves, right? And then talking to the camera. They're by themselves. So it takes a lot of skills. And I'm hoping that I can put more stuff on here that will be helpful to that, like refreshers, or this is what's coming, down the pipeline. Podcasting is huge now, obviously. Here's some tools that might be able to help you with that, or just resources.
Sure.
But this has been awesome for me. I mean, I play with it every night now after my kids go to bed.
Sure.
And I'm like, what is broken? I just sent it to a really good friend of mine who I'm going to tell you about later because they want to talk to you about AI. She's still in Michigan. She was a meteorologist that I worked with in Grand Rapids, one of my best friends. And I was like, can you just like go through and see what breaks and see what works and doesn't? And then she submitted her feedback on the site. And I'm like, this is awesome. It's working.
Yeah.
Another good friend of mine in Denver did the same thing for me, so it's just nice to.
It's validating.
It is validating, and it's validated very quickly, where I think in terms of entrepreneurs and how do you find validation in a business that you want to start, and it's making it a little quicker for you, right?
Well, let me double click on that, and then I want to pivot to kind of the final piece here. So the MVP, minimum viable product, there's this methodology came out of Silicon Valley called the lean startup methodology, which is how do we get to a minimum version of something to get feedback on it? Because it used to be this field of dreams model, right? Where if we build it, they will come, and you'd spend $1 million building a thing and then hope to God you got customers, right? Now you can build a thing with no customers, see if anybody cares, and then iterate, tweak, grow, change, etc. Right? And what you typically find, I just interviewed Megan Glover from 120 Water. And they started their company as an at-home consumer-facing water testing service where you would buy a little kit and you would test your own water, and then they'd give you a report. And great idea, great concept, great to have, but it just didn't make sense from a scaling perspective. And so she said, what if we, pun, swim upstream and go straight to the municipalities that are producing the water, and we can offer this service at scale instead of one click at a time, right? One mail an envelope at a time. You find that as an entrepreneur, you find your footing, what people actually want, and frankly, what people will pay for as you get into some of this stuff. What I love, I want to dig on this, is you both, I think if you look at the grand scheme of things, these are pretty micro communities that you've built. I am the most optimistic for AI in that world because communities like live music in Hamilton County and students at IU School of Broadcasting, News and Broadcasting, wouldn't have something like this. The resources to build what you guys have built wouldn't have been possible. And so I think a lot about that, right? Like at Moonshot, my little board game store, we've built a pretty great community.
I was low when you say little board game store. It was like so fun.
It is a little board game store.
I know, but it's like so. I'm like little nut shop, and it's like not the same.
But I mean, it is just using these kind of tools to lean in where you care, right? And where you can have an impact. I went to Washington, D.C. 15, 20 years ago to try to change the world. I decided I was going to get into politics. I'm going to go change the world. I'm working with the who's who in the zoo, right? At the highest possible level. And it sucked. It was the worst. I would not wish it on my worst enemy. It was so bad. Because you're inside the sausage factory and it's not what you think it is, right? I'm watching people on different sides of the political aisle throw grenades at each other and then drink beers together because it's all about lobbing a grenade and then fundraising and then and it just ruined me. It's like, I don't want this. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to move back to my little hometown and I'm going to start a little game store and I'm going to actually make a material difference in my community. And that to me is so exciting. And if you can learn how to use these tools, it's empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think you're so spot on. And it's one of those, like, that's how I felt with journalism. And I know I was in sports at first and then we move over to news and it's like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming because there's so many problems. There's so many issues and you want to help all the issues and you don't have enough time. You don't have enough money. You don't have all these things. So if you can focus on one group that you really can help and you really can make a difference in it and be there and be their support system and be, all of those things, it makes a huge difference. And I'd argue that it makes me feel good too, right? It's like, it's part of
validating.
And
it's part of being that community.
Yeah. And I want to make sure I add one thing to build this site and all that. And I don't know about you, it cost me less than $100. So that's another thing, buying the domain, doing I pay for a subscription for Replit and for Lovable. I also have 4 websites on Lovable right now, including our nut shop that is not live yet, but it's transferring. And it's every single time, it's just $25 a month. And we pay more on the host website that we're using for the shop right now. Yeah. And it's only for one website. Yeah. So that's the other side of it, that it's made it more financially
attainable, reachable. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's made it easier for me and my family.
Well, one thing I want to dig in, and we'll end with this because I know both of you have lots of things to get to as you're busy human beings. I don't think any of us are doing this for the money or for the fame or for the glory, right? But you've both picked a community. I picked a community that we care deeply about. Talk to me about AI and how that impacts that world. You have kids. You're watching your kids engage and interact with these tools. You're watching communities like Brown County, which was very off the radar for a long time. They now have high-speed internet, right? Thank you, mainstream. But I mean, why? What's the rationale? I know, Josh, you and I have talked briefly about it. Like, you have a vision for more live stuff, right?
Yeah, I think as AI advancing as it is, our lives are becoming more and more virtual.
That's fair.
More digital. And I think there's going to be a need. You always talk about staying human in the age of AI. I think there's going to be a need for live events, whether that's a concert or that's getting together with some friends and playing games. I think there is a need that will continue to grow for real human interaction. So whether it's a bar full of people singing the same song together or some guys playing Magic the Gathering together, whatever that is, I think it's going to be more and more important. And as, if AI frees up a bunch of time for all of humanity in the future,
sure,
what in the world are we going to do? So, make more music.
I love that.
Play more games.
That's great.
I love that.
Make more podcasts.
That's great. I think that's awesome.
So my kids, my daughter's turning 3 next week and my son is 6, right? Okay. So they're very young coming into this. And I will say, since the live, you're totally right, it frees us up to actually be more human and hang out with people, hopefully is the hopeful. But looking at small kids, my son is in kindergarten. He loves to play games. We bought many games from your store that we love, but he's, screen time too. We're not like no screen family by any means, but we started building a game on Replit that he can play on and it's really fun, and it's not any good yet, but it's like not compared to the, it's like a building block game that he just likes to build. And that's like a side of it too, where I'm like, if we can kind of figure out that intersection where it's us doing something together, because I love that stuff and he has an interest in that stuff. And I think that I'm hoping that I can show them what's out there too. Because again, living in a rural community, I think this stuff, and Jason, we talked about this so many times, it could either make a really large gap for people, or it could level the playing field a little bit more, right? As far as resources and things that are available to people. So as long as we are doing things ethically and, morally and all of the things, I think that it's exciting that my son could go, we have, pigs and goats and donkeys at our house that we take care of. And then he could go in and he's building his own game that he wants to play on an AI tool. That's and cool. He doesn't even realize that he's like vibe code. It's like a whole thing, right? Yeah. But that is an awesome opportunity that I hope that more people are able to have. Yeah.
What a world we live in.
Super cool though. I mean, and he doesn't even know he's doing it yet, right? It's just fun. So.
Well, I think for me, the lesson for all of the parents, grandparents on the phone or on the listening in here is, man, it's moving so fast. It just is. And it really is about being intentional. There's no perfect answers. Right. You've heard me, if you've listened to this podcast, you've heard me talk about the anxious generation 100 times. My opinion, the gold standard book on the subject of how to handle social media and technology and all of that. But it's personal. Every kid's different. Every relationship's different. Every socioeconomic class and group is different. There's no perfect answers. We've been talking, my wife and I, about my son loves Fortnite. He could play Fortnite 24 hours a day, never sleep, not even come up for oxygen, right? Just doesn't even know. And it's like, wait a minute, you just walk around shooting people on a game? This doesn't feel like something that we really want you to do.
Yeah.
But man, he just loves it. And so one of the things we've been talking about is, do we give him an opportunity to be a creator instead of a consumer, right? Because part of the brain chemistry about making something for other people versus just watching other people do it. Because that generation, man, they could just sit and watch YouTube videos of other people playing Fortnite.
Yeah. It's always crazy to me.
Well, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Don't you want to play?
Yeah, but people do it and they love it.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of conversations to have. And so we'll end here. A couple things. I'm just going to do some quick plugs. Folks, go buy shirts or nuts from jackandjillnutshop.com, or next time you're in Brown County, go check it out.
Come by.
If your kids are thinking about news, here IU's got the best program, and Camity is there, and she's exceptional. So do that.
Thank you.
And if you need fiber internet, check out the other company that she works with, her day job, her primary job, Mainstream Communications, Mainstream Fiber. They cover most of the state of Indiana, lots of different areas and districts, and so just a cool group. And I love the people that started the company and that run the company. Josh, Hamco Live. If you need a musician, a magician, a bartender, a pastor, or a teacher, can also reach out to him in any of those capacities.
That sounds like a song in itself.
I think it is. I think it is. He's choosing not to do some of those things anymore, but that's part of it. But anyway, next week, guys, we talked about kids a little bit. So excited. You're the first to hear this. I just secured my next week's interview with Secretary of Education, Dr. Katie Jenner.
That would be awesome.
And we're going to be talking about AI as it relates to kids from K through college.
That is,
it's real interesting.
Super interesting. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited for that conversation.
Yeah,
that'll be great.
I sent the questions. We did this one on the fly, right? We literally turned on the mics, turned on the cameras, and said, let's start talking. I sent her over some questions so she could be a little prepared, because there's a lot of hard topics to talk about.
It's tough.
Yeah, with 7 kids in my household, I'm very interested in hearing where this goes.
It's going to be wild.
I want to know what Indiana is doing.
Yeah, everything I've read so far, she is on the cutting edge of this stuff.
Great.
But it's a lot. And every decision you make at that level, you're pissing off half the people.
Sure.
So it's going to be wild just to see how it all plays out. But very encouraged, very excited. Josh has been helping me produce this show. So personal thanks in real life, in person, on a podcast for helping make it happen. He's been the guy behind the scenes doing all the button clicking and stuff. So thank you for that.
Yep.
And you were part of my cohort, and one that has really grabbed the bull by the horns. I think the final piece I want to leave you guys with today is both of these people, all I did was simply prompted them. I just said, hey, here's some tools, like go check them out. And you could tell by the intro all the way through this conversation that they just grabbed it and ran. So if you want to build things, you have permission. Just go build them. Check out Lovable, check out Replit. If you don't even know what to check out, ask ChatGPT what you should do and go.
You're not going to break it.
That's it.
That's the thing. Like, you're not going to like break the tool, right? So just try it.
Yeah. See what happens.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thanks, listeners. We'll be back next week with Dr. Katie Jenner. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. That was fun. Josh and Camity, I laughed a lot in that conversation. And so these are just great human beings. You can just pick up their energy in the conversation. It's neat to see people who just grab opportunity and run with it. They are both actively making a difference in the world around them. And I really want to touch on that point specifically. Like, you don't have to go out and build some SaaS platform that takes over and sells a zillion copies, right? You don't need to revolutionize every bit and piece of your business, right? These tools exist if you're willing to use them. And what they've done is they've lowered the barrier to entry to do things that you couldn't have done before. Before, you had to be a software developer. And if you couldn't do that, you couldn't build these sorts of tools. Now, the opportunity is there. You just have to try. And I would encourage you to do that. Go download Replit. Go look at Lovable. Go dig into Claude and their coworker, their code features, and just start building. Man, the world is there. And so thanks again to Josh and Camity for coming on the show. And thanks to Josh for producing the show. So he's the guy behind the camera normally. He is the one who puts this show together, edits it and puts it all together and participates in all the interviews and does all the live recordings. And it's just really great. So he has a company called Co-Captain Creative. If you're looking for any sort of video work, he is your guy. He does editing and shooting and scripting and all the above. But we've just built a really great friendship from there. And if you are in the Brown County area, stop by Jack and Jill Nut Shop, get some nuts. They're delish. Or go online and buy a shirt so that Camity's dad can be surprised when that order comes through that he didn't have to do anything with. Grateful for all of you. We'll see you again next week. Onward.